The year is 711. A small force lands on the southern edge of Iberia. Most histories call it an invasion. That word hides what really began here. This channel tells stories where wars are not decided by single battles, where victories are not accidents, and where history moves slowly through systems, discipline, and decisions that outlast the people who made them. This is not just a story of Christians and Muslims fighting over land. It is a story of why Europe did not become something else entirely. To understand the Reconquista, you have to let go of the idea that it was a war. Wars end. This did not. It unfolded across generations, through habits of rule, compromises of power, and the quiet patience of institutions that expected to lose and prepared anyway. Long before the first Muslim army crossed the Strait of Gibraltar, Iberia was already fractured. The Visigothic kingdom that ruled Hispania was unstable by design. Kings were elected, not inherited. That meant every succession invited civil war. Noble families hoarded land. Church councils tried to hold the system together. They failed often. When Tariq ibn Ziyad landed near the rock that would later bear his name, he did not face a united kingdom. He encountered a state already breaking itself apart. Within years, most of the peninsula was under Muslim rule, not because of overwhelming force, but because resistance collapsed faster than conquest advanced. Al-Andalus emerged, not as a temporary occupation, but as a durable system. It taxed efficiently. It tolerated local elites. It protected religious minorities so long as they accepted subordinate status. For many Christians and Jews, this was not immediate catastrophe. It was stability after chaos. That is the first assumption to break. The Reconquista did not begin because Christians were immediately oppressed. It began because power, once lost, created a memory that refused to die in the northern mountains. Beyond easy reach of Cordoba's administrators, small Christian polities survived, as later Leon Navarre. Catalan counties tied loosely to the Franks. They were poor. They were divided. They were constantly negotiating survival. These were not states preparing for reconquest. They were systems built to endure pressure. Muslim rulers understood this geography well. The north was not worth full occupation. It produced little tax. It resisted administration. Raids were cheaper than control. Every summer, armies moved north, burned crops, took captives, and withdrew. This pattern repeated for centuries. And this is where the Reconquista truly lived, not in grand campaigns, but in repetition. Christian rulers learned something crucial. Survival required discipline. Castles mattered more than armies. Marriage alliances mattered more than heroism. Time mattered more than territory. While Cordoba grew into one of the most sophisticated cities in Europe, Christian kingdoms remained fragmented but adaptive. They copied what worked: administrative practices, legal customs, even military techniques. This was not a clash of civilizations. It was a long exchange, shaped by proximity and necessity. Then came a turning point that did not look like one. In the early 11th century, the Caliphate of Cordoba collapsed. Not from invasion, but from internal strain, succession disputes, economic pressure, elite fragmentation. The peninsula did not become weaker, it became more complex. Dozens of Tifa's small Muslim kingdoms replaced centralized authority. They competed with one another. They hired Christian mercenaries. They paid tribute. This is where the Reconquista stops being defensive and becomes strategic. Christian rulers did not rush south in holy fury. They calculated. They demanded pariahs regular payments from Muslim states in exchange for peace. These payments funded castles, armies, and administration. The north did not grow strong by conquering. It grew strong by waiting. The capture of Toledo in 1085 is often framed as a dramatic breakthrough. It was not. It was inevitable. Toledo fell because its defenders were isolated, underpaid, and politically divided. It fell because Christian power had matured quietly. It fell because systems had shifted. Muslim rulers responded by calling for help from North Africa. The Almoravids arrived with discipline, religious rigor, and centralized command. They stopped Christian advances cold. Again, expectation breaks. The Reconquista did not advance steadily. It stalled. It reversed. It adapted. The Almohads followed more rigid, more ideological, more centralized. They rebuilt Muslim strength and imposed uniformity, and in doing so they introduced a fatal weakness. Rigid systems do not bend easily. Christian kingdoms, by contrast, remained messy. They fought each other constantly. They made and broke alliances. They absorbed failure. The Battle of Las Navas de Tolosa in 1212 is remembered as decisive. It was but not because of courage alone. Christian forces succeeded because supply lines held, because multiple kingdoms coordinated without surrendering sovereignty, because leadership restrained impulse in favor of formation. The Almohad army collapsed not from lack of faith, but from logistical overextension and command failure. After this, the balance shifted permanently. Muslim rule contracted southward, cities fell slowly. Valencia, Seville, Cordoba itself, not through annihilation but through negotiation, capitulation, and population transfer. Christians did not inherit empty lands, they inherited systems and struggled to manage them. Here lies another broken assumption. The Reconquista did not end suffering, it redistributed it. As Christian rulers expanded, they faced the same problems their predecessors had faced. Diverse populations, taxation, local elites resistant to control. Tolerance existed but narrowed. Legal categories hardened. Religion became identity, not just belief. By the time only Granada remained, it was less a threat than a symbol. Granada survived for centuries not because it was strong, but because it was useful. A buffer, a tributary, a diplomatic tool. When Ferdinand and Isabella finally moved to end it, they did so methodically. They cut supply lines, they rotated forces, they avoided unnecessary risk. The fall of Granada in 1492 is often portrayed as an ending. It was a beginning. A unified Spain emerged not from sudden triumph, but from 8 centuries of institutional learning. It had learned how to tax, how to mobilize, how to control territory over distance. These lessons would not stay in Iberia. They would cross oceans. The Reconquista shaped how Spain governed empire, how it viewed religious difference, how it justified expansion. It also shaped Europe's boundaries, political, cultural, and psychological. This was not a holy war won by faith alone. It was a slow contest between systems, one flexible, one rigid, both capable of greatness and cruelty. And it raises a question that lingers beyond Iberia. What happens when a society learns to wait longer than its enemy? If you want to explore another moment where patience reshaped history, let me know in the comments. And if this story held your attention, consider subscribing for more.